Donald Trump Jr. had a conversation with Sean Hannity about the Republican Party. Let's play that clip.
Republicans have to stop trying to play the game differently. We got to play hardball if they're playing hardball. We've been playing t-ball for generations while the Democrats have played hardball. We've turned the other cheek as they've slapped us in the face and laughed as they've won every major fight along the way while we claim some sort of moral high ground and losing everything.
I just gotta like jump in here with you guys. As far as I know, the Republicans like wiped us out in the last election when we should have won. We lost 1,200 seats to that. Like, what world is he living in right now?
I love the Republican Party that's described. I mean, the Democratic Party that's described on Fox News. They always are tougher. They are dirtier. They are getting socialism enacted. They are slapping Republicans in the face. Like, yes, like what they're saying is like, don't, threaten me with a good time. I wish this was the case. I wish they were dropping the filibuster and expanding the Supreme Court, like I wrote this weekend. Like, Donald Trump Jr., like, what you're saying, that's my fantasy. So, like, let's make it happen.
It's funny because it's a lot of the stuff that the left, like that we say to the Democratic Party, like, you got to fight harder. You got to fight these Republicans. Like, you needed to fight Trump better when Trump was in office. Like, all of these things. And now that Biden's president, the Republicans are using those arguments.
It's almost like he listens to our show and then is like, how can I use those words on the Democrats? Like, let's see if we can work this. All right, let's play the rest of the clip. There's more, don't worry.
That's what Donald Trump showed the Republican Party, that you can push back, that you don't have to go with their norms, that you don't have to listen to the media when they're just flagrantly putting out nonsense. You can actually push back, and I hope that the Republican Party does that. If they go back to the old ways of just rolling over and dying each and every time someone in the media wants to write a mean piece about them because they can't stand them or their constituents, or Donald Trump's 75 million people that voted for him in this country, the highest of any conservative in the history of America, there's no future for the party. So they better learn from that. And as much as I despise the notion of it, we have to be playing the same game. So we got to come out aggressively. We got to pursue those kind of ideas if they're going to do it. It's the same with cancel culture. Notice that only goes one way. I'm not for cancel culture, but if they're going to use it against us, against half of the country on a daily basis and use it to get rid of people, to suppress them, to bully them. And it's bullying in so many cases. If they come after me, it's one thing. I got a platform. I'm a big boy. When they go after some of these people that don't have any platform, they try to attack them, as CNN has done with random people who post something on Facebook. That kind of bullying has to stop, and we have to push back accordingly.
Hey, Don, look what's happening. It's cancel culture. Oh, have you ever been a supporter of Donald Trump?
Wow. Okay. So much to unpack there. He's a big boy, guys. He has a platform.
I think that should be in the quotations when they put his name, Donald Big Boy Trump Jr.
I mean, it's so comical to me, but this is what he envisions as the future of the Republican Party. When they cancel you, you got to cancel them. I'm like, you're saying the quiet thing out loud, Donald. That's the playbook.
He sounds like a replacement level drive-by talk radio host at this point. That's what he sounds like. He sounds like a Hannity, a Mark Levine, or whoever their people are at this point. Like, that's what he sounds like he's auditioning to do, more than like actually saying anything. It's remarkable. Like, he's been listening to it, I guess, for the last 4 or 5 years because they just fawn over his dad like he does, and now he's just repeating the same thing. And I think the funny thing about cancel culture is the only people who ever get canceled, so to speak, are like people on the left or Democrats, because there are consequences there. No matter what, like, no Republican ever goes down because they're dirty or shady. That never happens. So cancel culture only actually impacts people on the left anyways.
Yeah, well, I mean, Milo would disagree with you. He's really suffering a tough life now.
He's annoying. I think that's the thing. It's more than anything else, just annoying.
Well, it feels like the Republicans, like Don Jr. here, but Republicans in general, just say cancel culture like as like a when they run out of other things to say. Like, it's just a thing that they throw out as like its meaning is constantly changing. Like, what is cancel culture in this clip? Like, what's he talking about? Like, people being mean to you online, or like people it's unclear. And I think that's
I think it's probably like when people look into his finances and ask for his tax returns, and he's just like, "Oh my God, you're trying to cancel me! Stop shining the light on government and family and like my role in the White House, and oh my God, you're showing those pictures of me killing lions and bears and beautiful creatures. Stop canceling me."
I wish I could use cancel culture in high school when I was getting detention all the time. Like, stop trying to cancel me just because I skipped class and went out a window.
Stop trying to cancel me for giving me a B. I mean, it really is like the epitome of like white privilege, to be honest. It's, if I can throw that out there, people who are like, cancel culture. It's always the whiny white babies whose parents are rich. Donald Trump Jr. All right. Donald Trump Sr., you know, there's some serious things going on. He's being impeached right now. Let's play, let's put up his latest. Oh, got it. Oh, we don't have it. Just kidding. We'll keep going. The Trump Twitter situation. All right. So Trump impeachment attorney David Schoen says that Democrats have used, quote, rhetoric that is just as inflammatory or more so than Trump. But, quote, the problem is they don't have the followers, the dedicated followers when they give the speeches. So again, like this seems to be their thing now, is moving in a direction where the Democrats are just as toxic. And the problem is that they're just not as organized, or they don't have this cult leader, which I guess is true. But, you know, the country did vote for Joe Biden. So
they knock on doors. They don't break down walls of the Capitol, I think is the difference.
Fair enough.
You know, I think that's the thing. Like, there is something to be said for the, I guess, the maniacal devotion of Trump supporters versus Democratic supporters, obviously. But Trump knew that and weaponized it. I think that's the point. You know, like he clearly pointed like a loaded gun at the Capitol and just said, all right, I'm going to fire. And that, I mean, that's the whole point. He revved them up for 4 years. So Schoen's basically saying Donald Trump knew he had violent, insane followers, and he did something with it.
Yeah, great defense, isn't it? It's a little, I mean, even if it's true that like the Democrats have the same inflammatory language, I think that the Democrats in this case are so much more focused on the end consequences of Donald Trump's inflammatory language, like the insurrection at the Capitol, for instance. Like Democrats are not instigating insurrections at the Capitol. I mean, that's...
I can't believe that. Like, what? The fact that we even have to say that, come on. It's insane.
You know what? This whole thing, it's really important that he's on trial. And, you know, obviously it sucks that they're not going to, you know, find him guilty because Republicans, almost all of them voted against, saying he was unconstitutional. But I also wish that I didn't have to defend Democrats so much because, you know, they're trying to, you know, some of them want to take down the minimum wage. They want to take down the number of people who can get stimulus checks. Like, I hate having to say, no, you know, Chuck Schumer and all these people are good people and Republicans are bad. I want to move past that. I want to be able to say, we got to put pressure on these people. I want to breathe down Joe Manchin's neck, not, you know, freak out about Rand Paul's doodling while watching the trial.
Yeah. Wasn't that part of it though, Simon? Like the Biden administration wants to move on and not go through this trial. Progressives want to hold Trump accountable so this doesn't happen again and that we actually get to some of the root causes. But simultaneously, while this trial is dragged out, we actually have less of an opportunity to hold Biden accountable for, you know, letting Manchin get away with what he's getting away with, or Neera Tanden being tested. I mean, how do we do both things at once? Can we chew gum and walk?
We can. Like, we absolutely can and should be holding Biden accountable. I mean, in a worst case, this impeachment trial distracts from the things that Biden and his administration are doing or not doing that they should be doing. And as progressives, it's really our responsibility to make sure that the people who have political power, like Donald Trump has a lot of social power and some political sway, but he does not hold a position of office anymore. So we should be really focusing a lot of our attention on Joe Biden and his administration and making sure that they're doing the things that people need them to be doing right now. But like you said, we can do both at the same time, and we should be talking about where everything that Donald Trump did and represents is unacceptable and shouldn't be tolerated for future presidents.
Because it moves it, right? Like, that's how the Overton window slowly moves. And I mean, I don't know how we could ever end up doing what they did, but some of this stuff, I mean, I said at the top of the show, and it's really what was so obvious to me today was Neera Tanden has her followers aren't as hateful, but she orchestrated a lot of the same networks that the right uses. Maybe not as many, but she had her own Twitter armies and Reddit communities and pushed out conspiracy theories about the left. When the left talked about money in politics or targeted certain consultants or,
And this firsthand.
Tell me about it. But I do. It's not just that I know it firsthand. Others have experienced it. We've been talking about this for years. And the reason why I won't stop talking about it is because it was hurtful. It was scary. And yes, I don't tweet as much anymore. And I don't want to, throw out as many punches. And that's the strategy, is to silence people. But that's also the right-wing strategy. And some of their followers took it into violence to silence the squad, to challenge the election, to haunt them. I mean, this is real. There are real consequences to this, and it's happening everywhere right now. And I don't know if we're really doing much. I mean, I guess we could play this clip of Twitter shutting down Trump permanently, but clearly that's not enough. Let's roll the clip.
Former President Trump was banned. If he came back, ran for office again, and was elected president, would you allow him back on the platform?
So the way our policies work, when you're removed from the platform, you're removed from the platform, whether you're a commentator, you're a CFO, or you are a former or current public official. And so remember, our policies are designed to make sure that people are not inciting violence. And if anybody does that, we have to remove them from the service, and our policies don't allow people to come back.
Isn't that just putting a Band-Aid on it?
I think I wish they'd done this years ago. It's not that impressive they're doing it when he can't when he can't do anything about it. He doesn't have and his legal bills are going to be out the window, through the roof, and he has lawyers who are almost hilariously incompetent. So, I love Bruce Castor. I could watch him all day. So I wish they would do more about it. Obviously, it's good that they are sticking to their guns. We'll see. Although I do wish they'd let him on for this week just to see how mad he gets. I would love to just see, maybe even just on Periscope. I know they're getting rid of that, but just to see him fume, that would be really funny. But of course, yeah, it's certainly too little too late.
And so, Simon, it's too little too late, but it doesn't get rid of the problem. The root problem is still there. And if part of that root problem is also being used on the other side against the left, are we ever going to be able to deal with this? And I don't know how this isn't the tipping point, frankly.
Yeah, that's why it was really, it was frustrating to see the, with Neera Tanden, so much, Republicans telling her, we didn't like what you said about us on Twitter, blah, blah, blah. Would love to have some people from the left say the same thing to her. Because right now it looks like it's Republicans versus Democrats, it's a team battle. And so you just sort of pick your team and hope that your side wins, when that's really not how we should be looking at politics, obviously. We have to talk about how, the Democratic Party is fairly conservative as well. And so we should really be pushing her from the left. And there's not a lot of push from the left. And it's really frustrating to see. Yeah, and you're right that this doesn't address the root problem. The root problem of Donald Trump is his ideology that he was spreading.
The platforms, the way that the platforms are built to raise, to spread misinformation and fighting and all this stuff, which, obviously I've had my own part in, in these battles, and I'm sure, many of us have. But the way that the platforms are designed is that they make money off of this, whether it's right-wing conspiracies being pushed forward, or Democratic left infighting, or conspiracy theories that aren't fact-checked. And it's how capital works. But on her side, there is a real consequence. She was out there doing the work for the donors who funded CAP, the donors being corporate interests and foreign entities who had a real goal in influencing the Democratic Party platform, in silencing folks who had on the left who had platforms or power, or smearing them, attacking them, eliminating from the space. And that I worry. Like, will there ever be any accountability for that? And will these patterns continue? Do you guys have any predictions?
I think that we're seeing a lot of, institutions that have long been seen as nonpartisan or just kind of part of the game being called out. I think, we saw the Harvard think tank or the economist group there that were clearly funded by, financial interests and using terrible data to say that $1,500 checks. I mean, the check shouldn't go to people who made above $50,000. Right? That is being, they're being exposed. We're seeing the CBO, which is clearly, it's been about deficit reduction. That's been their entire mission the entire time, that they have their data is always skewed. And so I think before, we can make any huge changes or, to be able to enact ongoing big changes, those sorts of institutional rot needs to be exposed. And I think like that is happening slowly. And I think that it's going to take time to, we need people who are younger, who haven't been in Washington for 40, 50 years, dealing with the same people over and over again, to bring a fresh outlook. But I think that's really important, getting that sort of, things just didn't seem like a big deal. That was just part of the game before. I think that like the left needs to expose the institutional rot as much as any, individual policy.
Or they just weren't aware of it. Like they just weren't. I mean, the fact that John Kennedy in itself was talking about like Twitter. I mean, that any of these senators were like, like their staffers are like, listen, okay, I know you're not on this. I know that we do your tweeting, but just read this tweet. Well, how do I read it? Tell me, was this an email or was this a tweet? Just say, Neera Tanden, you tweeted this out, and then quote the Twitter. That's all you gotta do. All right. I don't know, Simon. I mean, do you think that we're ever?
No, I mean, there's always going to be like people doing the bidding of capital, like spreading capital propaganda. There's going to be these people online. They're going to be people we don't like online. That's just that's unfortunate. And sometimes we can like bring a strong voice in opposition to them. I mean, you did on Twitter, and Neera Tanden has a lot of people who don't like her on Twitter. And sometimes quote tweets of Neera Tanden get more likes and positive response than her tweets themselves. So sometimes we can sort of like in the online battle. But I think a lot of the time it's important to remember that the little like feuds that we have online with Neera Tanden they play to a small audience.
They play to a small audience, but they're about what she's doing. I mean, that's why I opened with this and I was like, do I really want to touch this? And I thought, no, because what it does is it's about sowing dissent for, she is in the ecosystem of influence, which is Twitter, unfortunately, where journalists are on there and leaders are on there and organizers and everyday folks who just want to voice their opinion. I mean, this is a space in which those who are interested in the game of politics, hash it out. And not everybody is in that game, but you can, and it's democratized. So you have the potential to be so. So I take it a little bit more seriously just because I've seen the kind of professional damage it's done to people.
I think we're also seeing like tech platforms, they have their thumb on the scale in a big way, right? Yeah. Twitter didn't, they removed Trump after all this, but, Facebook, they've just allowed politics to go back to as usual. They talk about maybe they're going to reduce politics on the main feed. We'll see. But like I have the names in front of me, like the people who were linked to most, the top performing links on U.S. Facebook pages yesterday or the day before. Top 10, it's Franklin Graham, Dan Bongino, USA Patriots for Donald Trump,
God.
Dan Bongino, Bernie Sanders, Ben Shapiro, Fox News. And so until that thumb on the scale is taken off, we're fighting such an uphill battle, for any sort of like actual information to get out there.
Thanks for watching and listening to The Nomiki Show. But remember to click like and subscribe on YouTube and please share on social media. If you're not already a patron, please join us for as low as $5 a month on patreon.com/The Nomiki Show for early and special content. That investment makes a huge difference. We are not corporate media raking in the dough. It's really you guys that are keeping us going. So please consider being a patron. And to our current patrons, thank you so much. We are incredibly grateful to you. We also now have swag. So check us out on thenomikishow.com to get your mugs, your totes, and your stickers.